Ian, we have an announcement about the Genesis Mini 2 game selection, the 60 titles that will be available on this second Mini. The first one came out now, what, 2 years ago already? The first one came out. And it got positive reviews. It was, what, $80? And it had, did it have 60 titles? Yeah, I believe it had 60 titles, the first one.
50, I think. I've got it. It was nicely made, really, really interesting titles. And yeah, I enjoyed it. For a mini system, I thought it was great. I don't own the PC Engine one. I don't really need it. But the Genesis Mini, I think, impressed me because there was some choice cuts on there.
It wasn't the fucking cheap ass at games one.
Right. Sure.
Emulation by, you said, by M2. They work on.
I believe some of the porting was done by M2.
Okay.
Yes.
So we'll just say it was the best quality Genesis Mini that ever came out, and there's been like a handful of them over the years.
Yeah. No, definitely the best of them. So this was announced, and initially there was only like 10 games announced. They said that they would be adding some Sega CD games. That got people excited, but they did not announce like nearly anything. So now they've got the full list, and I've seen a lot of people who are disappointed by it. I think it's actually a pretty cool list.
Let's go through the video in order, because that'd be more, because I can see then the games as we go through. Click on the video if you want to do that.
Sure.
And like you said before, you corrected me that these are 60 original games. These are not on the first one. So that's
no, there are no repeats.
First one, Super Hang On. Surprised it wasn't on the first one, because that's one of those earlier titles that they really like a launch title, just about game, right, or close to it. I'm kind of surprised that wasn't on the original. Yeah, 89. So I mean, I don't have a lot of. I mean, if you had a Genesis back when we're talking pre Sonic Genesis, the first like year and a half, this was a game that a lot of people had because this was an arcade title.
Sure.
Truxton,
great shooter. Very difficult, very expensive. Phantasy Star 2 is a
earlier
classic.
Title, 90.
Herzog Zwei, one of the first, one of the earliest examples of like a real time strategy game.
And it's
done on the Genesis.
And it's a space game, and it goes for a ton of money. What does it go for? $100, 150, something like that.
Yeah,
it was always one of those coveted ones. So that's an interesting. So you're already seeing that. Okay, we're going for some interesting stuff. Afterburner 2, another earlier title, that pre-Sonic title. It's Afterburner. It's fine. Rainbow Islands Extra, a version. I have no idea about this game. Obviously, Rainbow Islands I do. But what's this extra?
I mean, a lot of games in Japan get extra or special tags when they're ported to different systems.
Okay.
So I don't know what makes it extra. I've never played the Genesis version of that. I would love to play it, 'cause I love the original.
It looks like the arcade version when I'm looking at the graphics. Obviously, the NES version is different. This looks to be, well, at least anyone in North America is different. Revenge of Shinobi, another one that I could have sworn this was on the original. I guess it wasn't.
Love Revenge of Shinobi. The original had Shinobi 3 on it. I actually think I like Revenge a little bit more. So I'm happy to see that.
The second one?
Yeah.
Okay. So surprising they would go 3 then 2. I don't know much about the differences.
Three was just 3 is just generally more popular. I think that's why.
Hellfire,
amazing shooter. I have it on the PC Engine. The Genesis version is great because the controller works better for it because each button is a different shot type.
Oh, nice. Granada
is also awesome. That's
top-down
shooter.
That I'm not familiar with that one. That looks more like an older arcade game that was ported, but I mean it wasn't. But it looks like it. Just how the style is.
Granada, I believe, was an arcade game, and it is maybe not, but it was definitely older.
Populous.
I
know how popular that was in the Genesis. I believe I own it. That was one of those EA releases. I think that has the thicker book in it, so it's a thicker one. And then another Shinobi, Shadow Dancers. Is that the fourth one? Or is that
Shadow Dancer is a extraordinarily non-accurate port of an arcade game. There is a Shadow Dancer arcade game. Okay. I love Shadow Dancer. I don't know where it came in terms of like the
lore. Is it it's an offshoot maybe? Spin-off?
Yeah. But it's awesome. I fucking love Shadow Dancer. It's a great game.
A game that we brought up before that's interesting, Gain Ground.
I love Gain Ground. Gain Ground is so much fun. It's not well known. It's a very weird game, but I love it. It looks like a Gauntlet, but it's so much more strategic.
Yeah,
Midnight Resistance is a neat one. That's a run and gun. And then
let me look at this one before. Midnight Resistance. I had not heard of this one. Is that an uncommon game?
Yeah, somewhat uncommon.
The flamethrower, it looks like the Bloody Wolf sort of flamethrower, but obviously TurboGrafx does it better, which is kind of amazing when I look at it. It looks crappy compared to TurboGrafx flamethrower. It's a run and gun shooter side scroller. Shining in the Darkness. Not familiar.
First person dungeon crawler. A lot of fun.
Cute graphics. Okay. What's next here? By the way, I love this video they put out because it gives you a description of the game with gameplay as you go through it, and this is great.
Yeah.
Outrun. Thank you. We finally get like an arcade, a good port of Outrun. Thank you.
The Genesis version of Outrun is not great.
It's not that good? Really?
It's fine. The Genesis does not do the super scalar stuff great. I mean, it was fine for the time, but now there's way better versions to play.
Okay. Well, I mean, talking about either Master System or PC Engine, you have a lot of choices back then.
Bonanza Brothers, Rolling Thunder 2.
We'll glance over Bonanza Brothers here for a second. That's a goofy ass game that's not really talked about that much. So it's what, two simultaneous players, just like Xenophobe and Spy versus Spy.
Yep.
And so, okay, so far I'm impressed that they're getting some. I know they went through 60 originally, and a lot of these are, for some of these are first party titles, but I do like the fact that some of these are kind of interesting, weird games.
Yeah.
Sorry, what's the next one?
Rolling Thunder 2.
Okay, I'm in. I'm fucking in. Rolling Thunder 2 and 3. Only systems that came out from the time was a Genesis. Obviously, I'm a Rolling Thunder fanboy, and no, and they're simultaneous. I'm in. Golden Axe 2. Not really familiar with this versus the first game. I don't remember playing it in the arcade. I remember seeing it, but at that point, it's like, I already played Golden Axe. I mean, do you like the sequel?
Yeah, I like the Golden Axe games in general.
You can't go wrong with Golden Axe. What's next?
Desert Strike. Those are games that were really popular when I was younger. I didn't play them until kind of recently. They're great games.
I think Mike Kevin had that one. I think I played. He had that for Genesis. War Song. That's a hard to find one, right?
Yes, and I believe War Song is, I think the Japanese name for it is Langrisser, which is obviously over there it was more popular. It's a series of strategy RPGs, but I believe War Song is one of those.
It's like a Might and Magic style sort of game.
Yeah, it's got great looking little sprite graphics.
It's cute.
Kind of like a more like a Shining Force or a Advance Wars type of game, I think.
Atomic Runner, not familiar.
Love Atomic Runner, Chelnov. This game is extremely difficult and weird to play. It's essentially a scrolling shooter, but you're the Atomic Runner, and he can do like really high flips and stuff like that. It's a lot going on, but it's fun.
Platforming scrolling shooter.
Yeah,
that's interesting. There's not many games like that because even Alicia Dragoon is not auto scrolling. You go at your own pace. Interesting.
Right, exactly.
Interesting. I'm kind of Splatterhouse too. Okay. Hard to find, or I'll say uncommon. Not really hard to find. Uncommon. Sega CD game Night Trap makes an appearance. Okay. It's cool that it shows up. It's one of the more famous Sega CD games. I mean, there you go.
I think it's there more as a historical footnote than anything. I mean, it's not a game that people are going to spend a lot of time playing. Like I said previously, I like a lot of like Laserdisc and full motion video games. There's a charm to them, but Night Trap just isn't that much fun to play.
Nor is Sewer Shark, which was the packing game originally for the Sega CD.
I would rather play Sewer Shark than I would absolutely rather play Sewer Shark.
You shoot little yellow or orange little rat things. Lightning Force is great. It is part of the Thunder Force series. I think it's technically Thunder Force 4. Awesome shooter. It is Thunder Force 4. Okay. Awesome shooter. Very, very brutally difficult, but like just excellent game. Next we have the Ninja Warriors, which also came out on where'd that also come out? God, am I confusing that with the NES one? It's not the same one.
No, I believe it's on Super Nintendo as well.
Super Nintendo, that's right.
But this is the Sega CD version.
It looks like it was an arcade game. I'm not familiar with it.
It was an arcade game.
It's just one plane beat 'em up like Vigilante. Looks interesting, or like Kung Fu. Elemental Master, another shooter.
Yeah. Then this one I don't actually know very well, so it'll be interesting.
Wow, so far, Ian, there's a lot of shooters for you on here.
There's like 4. I think I looked. There's like 4 or 5.
Night Striker.
Night Striker. I always wanted to play this. I've never played this. That game is wild looking.
It's a scalar third-person shooter
racing game.
It's racing. You're shooting stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, you're a car.
It calls it a shooter.
I know, but I'm just saying. Look at it. You're a car.
Yeah, but no, but it's not racing because it's not a time limit. That's what I mean. It's a shooter. Okay. The object is to shoot things. You know what I mean?
Sure.
That's what I mean. Final Fight CD. All right. Oh fucking version. K. The best version of the game that came out back then. They added cutscenes. No bullshit. No, only 2 characters selectable.
They still max out at 4, but it's better than what we had.
No, I mean like you get all 3 characters to play.
Oh, sure.
That's what you're saying. There's only 4 enemies on screen at the time. Well, that's better than only having 3.
Yeah, it's absolutely. It's way better.
So that means you have 6 people on screen at the same time, and on Super Nintendo you had 4. It was terrible. Yep. It was awful. Echo the Dolphin. Surprised that wasn't on the first one. Oh, the Sega CD one. Gotcha. The Sega CD version. Robo Aleste.
Oh, Robo Aleste. Yeah, that's a really good one to have. That's expensive.
I'm not familiar. Another shooter. Yes, I said that. There's like several shooters so far. Yeah. Rakeem has like 7 or 8 so far. Ranger X. Not familiar. Another action game, sort of shooter hybrid. It looks like. Interesting. I know that goes for a little bit of money.
Sylphide's another shooter. That one's the Sega CD game.
I'm not familiar with that. Vertical scrolling. Oh, that's the one that's sort of okay. It's a 3D-esque, like polygon type of graphics.
Yeah, it was big. It was big. It was a big deal when it came out on computers. I think Sierra published it over here because of how it looked.
Sonic the Hedgehog CD. There you go. Sonic CD. That would make sense, obviously, if you're doing CD games. Toe Jam and Earl. Panic on Funkotron.
So that is the sequel. That is a straight up platformer. Some people like it. A lot of people don't like it because it changed so much from the original game.
Mansion of Hidden Souls. I did not know that was a game. It's a adventure game, a la like Myst or Seventh Guest. It looks like Virtua Racing. That makes sense to have that on there. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Some people
interesting that it's there wasn't a Sega CD version. Excuse me. Interesting, but yeah.
Fatal Fury 2 makes the cut. Okay. I've never played the Genesis version. I'm sure it's not terrible, but not great.
I don't love Fatal Fury until you get to Special.
Super Street Fighter 2 is on
version.
Here. I'm not familiar with how good that is. The Genesis Street Fighter 2 champion is ass. It's like the worst out of all of them. I don't know how New Challengers is. But the graphics look actually improved versus the regular Street Fighter champion. Streets of Rage 3. There you go. You gotta have a Streets of Rage on there. Outrunners. There you go.
Now this is more interesting to me because this was not an arcade game. Yeah.
That's a racing game that's in the Outrun series. Shining Force 2.
Excellent series.
Tactical RPG.
Basically Fire Emblem, but Sega's version.
The the third Echo game, The Tides of Time, the second CD one. Viewpoint, not familiar with this. Zaxxon sort of perspective shooter.
I believe that was SNK. Sammy's arcade classic. Sammy. Well, you can get it on the MVS. It's a neat game.
The classic Clay Fighter makes
that didn't really need to be there.
They probably cheap rights. Rystar, that's a cult classic.
Yeah, great one. Sega made. Nice. Beautiful graphics.
Cute platformer.
Right around the same time as Sonic 3. Just, really great design.
Shining Force CD, another Shining Force.
Very expensive.
That goes for a lot.
Yeah, so that's a good one. Crusader of Senti, also a few $100 worth of game there in Crusader of Senti. Gorgeous looking, kind of a later release for the Genesis. It's a Zelda clone, but it's a damn good one.
It looks like Link to the Past. Norm did a video on this years back. And it's always been one of those ones that went for decent money because it's like the action adventure game to play. I've never heard of the Ooze, but it's on here. It's a top-down action game where you're an ooze going around. It looks quirky and interesting. I never heard of it before. Alien Soldier.
Great treasure game, was not released over here. It was European only, Europe and Japan only. This is a big one to get on there.
Big Earthworm Jim 2. Great graphics, obviously. People are into the series. Sonic 3D Blast. I mean, I guess you got to put another Sonic game on there. Is that the last one that came out in a cart?
Yeah.
Was that before or after 3? I forget. Or Sonic and Knuckles. But all right, do you like that one? Are you into it at all?
I like 3D Blast, but I like the Saturn version.
Vector Man 2. That's another sort of one people like. It has a really great animation on there.
Here's the special content, though.
This is
what's exciting to me. So Fantasy Zone is getting a port for the first time on the Genesis. With a brand new easy mode, explode 8 planet, blah, 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 blah. If this is probably an M2 port, I'm going to assume that it's going to be very, very good. I love Fantasy Zone. Love it.
Star Mobile.
This is
awesome. Interesting.
I'm really excited to play this because this was unreleased on the Genesis, but this game was actually released on the PC Engine, and I own it.
Okay.
And it's a really neat idea for a game.
It's a puzzle game.
I'd love to play another version of it.
It's a balancing puzzle game? Is that what this looks like?
Yeah,
okay.
You drop pieces based by weight, and you you basically have to keep the scales from tipping.
And you can like eliminate stuff, or you have to balance. Okay. A game called Spatter. Looks like it was a Mega Drive. Looks like a Japanese game. Hop on your tricycle and pedal to pick all the flowers. So it's like a cute little action arcade little game.
Yeah, a weird Sega game from that era. And then an even weirder one, a Super Locomotive, which was also a Sega arcade game from the 80s.
I've heard of this.
Train platformer.
Yes. So yeah, it's weird because you have to manage, I guess, the action on the bottom, and then on the top you have to change the tracks. It's really interesting idea. I never saw a game like that before. Deviant Pie. Haven't heard of this before. It looks like a little paddle and ball game.
Yeah, this one I've never heard of, but I'm pretty excited about it because I love paddle and ball games. So
and that looks awesome. There's not too many of them. Puyo Puyo Sun versus Puyo Puyo Sun.
2-player versus mode from the third game. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about the series.
So
this Space Harrier 2, this is amazing. It's been it's completely being redone.
So it's not the original.
Right. If you look, well, it's the original, but like, so it uses the same graphics and stuff, but you'll notice it's way smoother. Like that game has never looked that good.
Wow. So
that scaling is nuts.
So
and Space Harrier 2 is a cool game, but like it suffered from the limitations of the system when it came out on the Genesis. So to like see it kind of fully realized is awesome.
So it's like closer to like an arcade Space Harrier.
Yeah, exactly. It's like closer. What if Space Harrier 2 came out as an arcade game, basically, which is fucking great because I love Space Harrier.
No, I enjoy it. So this is packaged. I'm going to say right now, I am very impressed by this selection. I think the CD stuff could be more diverse, which we get into, but just in terms of like 60 games, there's obviously popular games, there's uncommon games, there's games that are expensive that are hard to find. These special ones at the end are really a nice effort.
I love the special stuff that they do. I love that. I think honestly, it makes the whole package worth picking up for people who are interested in this sort of stuff. As long as you're into mini consoles, and I get it if someone's not. I think the people who have so far been disappointed by this list, and it's not to sound mean, but I feel like I don't know what you want. Do you just want surface level cuts? Because this is, to me, this is the sort of stuff that I love seeing on these collections. These are some real deep cuts for people who like, shooters or action games. There's stuff on there that you don't normally see. And like you said, the inclusion of a lot of games that are normally very expensive to get. Sure, you can just emulate, but you can officially go play Crusader of Senti for, half the cost for the entire system of what it costs to get a loose cartridge.
Yeah, I don't see.
It's nice.
I don't know the Genesis library. I'm not going to pretend, but if I had to say, I don't see really a lot of filler on here. I see
honestly, Sonic 3D Blast, the Genesis version, is filler. But yeah, there was only 2 or 3 that I saw as we were going through it where I was like, I don't really need that.
Yeah, like something
great.
Like something like the Ooze. I'm like, well, that looks. I never heard of that, but like I never heard of it.
It's become a cult classic.
So that's what I mean.
A lot of people like it.
I mean, so like there's not a lot of what's the big things? There isn't sports games. It's probably hard to get the rights to the sports games. Like, yes, I'd love to have an NHL game on here.
Yeah, NHL 94 would make everyone happy.
Or you get a Madden on here, or you get a Joe Montana football. The licensing might be too weird, but that's a big glaring thing to me, is not having at least one big sports title on here, like an NHL game. That's the one big thing to me, is something like that. Other than that, though, and honestly, people that are complaining are probably not. They're not complaining because it doesn't have the NHL 94. That's not why they're complaining, probably.
Right? No, probably not.
So between this and the first, first mini, there's probably a pretty damn good. What was that? About over 100 games. 100.
Oh, yeah. If you don't want to do emulation, or you don't want to do a Mega SG and a flash card or something like that, but you want to play some Sega stuff, if you buy the first and the second minis, I think you've got a really great representative library of what made the Genesis special and unique to people who grew up with it.
Well, maybe the complaint is that the CD games, there's only a dozen, and of those dozen, there's a few that are like, well, we really didn't need. I mean, honestly, we didn't need Night Trap on here, or Sewer Shark to a lot of people. Obviously, they're iconic, but no one's going to be playing those really. They're not buying it for that.
Right.
That makes sense.
I think, and it's on the docket here to bring up, I think people would have really liked to have seen, because they go so deep with their cartridge cuts, I think people wanted to see some of the working design stuff. I especially think people wanted to see the Lunars and Pop Full Mail.
Sure.
Especially Pop Full Mail, because it was the only English release of the game. And it's become prohibitively expensive for a lot of people. But Victor Ireland, the guy who ran working designs, and a real jerky guy, basically said no. He said, no, I'm not going to license out the translations I have for Lunar and Pop Full Mail, because it's just not worth it to him. Not enough money. Understanding is that he was offered the same amount of money that everyone else who licensed the game was. He's just a jerk who doesn't want to release shit.
So you'd rather make no money than some money,
yes, because he's that kind of he's that kind of dude. He'll cut off his nose to spite his face.
I mean, are we getting a working designs collection? Like what's
that would be neat if there was something else in the works, but I don't think there is. I think it's just him sitting on top of licensing rights, and they're not his games, but he owns the translations. So, Sega could retranslate them and re-release them. That's my understanding, but that's a lot of money to put into, what I think a lot of people would see as 3 bonus games on a mini console.
Okay, so working designs would have to re-license out the rights to the translation to do something like this. Is that what you're saying?
No, they could retranslate if they wanted to, but it would take a long time. Working Designs, I believe, owns the English translations to those games, which is why it's hung up.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's my understanding.
Okay. Well, that's a shame, because the Sega CD stuff, it's cool that, we get something like Final Fight CD, but you get 2 Echo games on here and not one of the more expensive working design. That's not saying you need all of them, but having 1 or 2 would have been great for people, for the reasons you said.
Yeah, it would have been great. It feels like that they went out of their way to get the good deep cuts for the cards, the cartridge stuff, and they really phoned in the Sega CD stuff. That said, it's nice to see, but a lot of the stuff that people want to see on Sega CD is tied up with licensing and rights bullshit.
So the final thing is, I guess we get to the fact that when I railed against this a few weeks ago about they're making only 10% they did for the original Genesis. That's awful.
Yep.
Obviously, and it's shocking. So it's going to cost you, it's $100 to get this plus shipping. So it's going to cost more than the first Genesis, which is fine. It only has 1 controller. It has the 1 6-button controller. Thank God it's a 6-button controller. Are the ports a Genesis port in the front?
I think they're USB ports.
They're USB. So the one you have is a USB, not a Genesis.
I'm pretty sure it's.
So USB, you can find the other third-party Genesis. Everyone makes them. Retrobit makes them. Everyone, they had. So okay, so it is more money, for sure. It's coming out in October. So with shipping, looks like it's 122. Because I think it comes directly from Japan, I believe. Yes, it's imported from Japan. So hopefully they make more in that, because you can't find the original one anymore, can you? That you can't find it new.
No, but I mean, it was released, and people who wanted to get it got it. Again, as we've talked about.
I didn't get one.
Podcast. Things aren't. You did it?
No, I almost did, and I didn't, and now it's like you can't get one for cheap. It looks like for the first. So like this will sell out eventually. Maybe not at the first, but this will sell out. The first one sold out, unless people were appeased by the first one and don't want the second ones. Maybe they got all their favorite titles in the first one. Like maybe.
I think that's Sega's fear.
That's their fear, but
I think that's their fear.
You can get it used for $120 on eBay. The first ones. That's not bad. It was $80 when it came out. So or was it 80 or 100? I think it was 80. It's right. Only the PlayStation was 100, and that was the worst one out of all of them, infamously. And I should have bought that when it was on clearance for $20. I should have got.
Oh, geez, yeah.